Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you all about what I'm going to be working on for NaNoWriMo. I wanted to introduce my book, put that idea kind of out here on YouTube and just in the world in general. You know, if you speak it, then you have to live it. I'm going to try to manifest this and manifest my own NaNoWriMo success by introducing this project to you all here. So let's cut to the chase. I know that I said in a previous video that I'm not much of an outliner, but I think to just keep myself on track, my plan is to outline just a few chapters and then work those chapters and then see where I'm at. If I'm at a good place, then I'll just keep writing. And if I'm a little bit stuck or I'm not sure what I should do next, then I'm going to outline again the next, 2 or 3 chapters and pick up from there and just keep writing. That way I'm kind of working a balance of pantsing and outlining, where I'm not fully outlining and I'm not fully just pantsing. I'm kind of using both of those in times of need to help me along as I write the story. The title of my book so far that I'm going to work on NaNoWriMo, I've been tinkering with this a little bit, and right now I'm calling it Broken Chains, a narrative in the life of a minotaur slave. There's a word in there that's key, and that is in minotaur, because we're not talking about humans. I am a fantasy writer, and so what I want to do here is I want to write a slave narrative with minotaurs as the main subjects, not humans, but minotaurs. There's no real reason for that outside of just I like minotaurs. I think that they're pretty cool. In fantasy lore, I kind of just like how they look. I like kind of the dynamic of what their size and strength can do as opposed to the other typical races in fantasy and science fiction. A minotaur, something that big and strong, being enslaved is interesting to me, and I think that there's some things that I can do with that idea. And the other thing that's important about this book is, I talked about this before as well with fall reads, and when I was suggesting you all some fall books to read, I talked a lot about slave narratives. I love slave narratives. I talk about them a lot. I think that they're essential to American literature. Up to a certain point in American history, you almost can't talk about American literature without talking about slave narratives, just because of the impact that they had and kind of what they represent to the American reader and to the global reader, really, as far as the truth of what's going on or what had been going on in this country during slavery. One of my favorite things about slave narratives is the fact that consciousness plays such a huge part in the subject finding the freedom. There sometimes is a trope here in slave narratives, if you read enough, where it's, the person was born into slavery, they didn't know anything, and they learned how to read and write, and that helped them, that almost like unlocked something in their brain and helped them, find their way to freedom. And there's a reason why oppressed people are usually uneducated, and why, dictators, why they burn books. There's a reason for all of these things. And one of those things, and you could argue this is a psychological debate. This isn't as much a literary debate as it's a psychological one. But you can argue that when someone comes into language and learns how to read and write, that's kind of when they come into their own intelligence. Now, that's not always the case, obviously, because outside of North America, in the South and Central America, and parts of Africa, there's a lot of oral storytelling. Oral storytelling is just as important as written storytelling. But what I'm saying here, as far as the American conscience as we know it so far in American history, it seems like once language and reading and writing kind of came into the picture, that's when the slaves kind of were able to use that as a tool to help get them to freedom. These were some of my favorite things to study in school. And so I think that, kind of putting a fantasy twist on this, writing a first-person slave narrative, but through the eyes of a minotaur, I think that that's going to be kind of fun to work with and very interesting. I don't have the whole plot structured out yet, but so far, this minotaur who is going to be penning the narrative, it's going to be long after he's found his freedom and he's writing this now, but he's going to be born into slavery and retelling the history of his people. And so far what I have is there are 2 races of minotaurs. There's the wild minotaurs and there's the armed minotaurs. And the armed minotaurs are educated and they wear, cloth and woolen clothes, silk clothes. They work closely with humans, and it was actually their bond with humans that ended up allowing them to be tricked and being forced into slavery. They started to look down on the wild minotaurs, who were the ones who kind of rejected the humans and stayed true to their natural instincts in the wild, hence the name wild minotaurs. So I want to play with a little bit of that, a little bit of the not self-hate, but a little bit of the dynamic between the two sects of the same race, the wild minotaurs and the armed minotaurs, the relationship to humans, how they became enslaved, and how the subject of the book, the protagonist, right now I'm calling him more Taurus, but that might change, but how he ends up finally finding his freedom and escaping. Let me know what you guys think about this idea. I'm pretty excited to write this. I've had this idea for a long time, and I've tinkered with it here and there over the years, but it never gained much steam, and I never really took it too seriously. But for NaNoWriMo this year, I'm going to work on this. So please, everyone, let me know what you think about this idea. Let me know what you think about this book. And if you have any suggestions, critiques, comments, whatever, please leave them below. I don't get many comments, so I do have the opportunity now to respond to everything. That's my husky again going crazy. And please, if you guys have a pretty cool idea or you're excited about something that you're working on for NaNoWriMo, let me know. Put it down in the comments. Or, I have all of my social handles up here. I don't have much, but all of my stuff is there. My website is up there. You can send me a message through my website, email me, whatever. But I would love to be in contact with more people, especially those who are participating in NaNoWriMo. So please just let me know what you guys are working on, or if you have any suggestions or comments for what I introduced here today as far as the project that I'm going to be writing about for NaNoWriMo. And thank you all.